6 months after the destruction of New Sol, the Galactic Council's surrender ceremony took place in the same chamber where they had planned humanity's punishment. But now human soldiers stood guard, and Admiral Kang Hyun-ju sat where High Arbiter Velthanis once ruled. The once mighty council members knelt in chains before their conquerors. Velthanis's crystal form was cracked and dim. War Master Grexnell was dead, vaporized with his flagship. The few surviving council leaders waited to learn their fate. President Nam Soo-jin entered the chamber wearing simple civilian clothes. She needed no crown or royal robes to show her authority. The power of humanity spoke through the warships that surrounded every council world. "You called us primitive farmers," she began, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "You thought you could murder our children to make a political point. Today you learn the price of that arrogance." The surrender documents were comprehensive. Every council military force would be disbanded. All weapons of mass destruction would be turned over to human control. War criminals would face trial for genocide and crimes against sentient beings. "The Galactic Council is dissolved," President Soo-jin announced. "Your age of dominance is over." But humanity's victory was not built on revenge alone. Across former council space, human administrators worked to build something better than what they had destroyed. Admiral Park Sun-ho, son of the murdered Commander Jin-woo, oversaw the reconstruction of New Sol. The new colony rose from the ashes of the old, but now it was protected by the most powerful defense fleet in the galaxy. "My father believed in peaceful coexistence," he told the workers rebuilding the agricultural districts. "We will honor that belief, but we will never again be defenseless." The memorial wall in the new city center bore the names of all who died in the council's attack. Children who would never grow up. Farmers who would never see another harvest. Teachers, doctors, engineers. 50,000 names carved in stone. "Never forgotten," read the inscription below the names. "Never again." The galaxy quickly learned that human justice was different from council tyranny. Species that had cooperated with the genocide faced punishment but not extinction. Those that had remained neutral were left alone. And those that had been oppressed by the council found themselves under human protection. The Vextar insects were the first to formally request alliance with humanity. Their queen, Zixandra, came to Earth personally to sign the agreement. "Humans showed kindness when others showed only cruelty," she declared in her clicking language. "The Vextar will stand with humanity against all threats." The amphibious Keth followed, bringing gifts from their ocean worlds. Ambassador Glubthor spoke for his people. Council demanded tribute. Humans ask only for friendship. Choice is easy. Within a year, 20 species had joined the new Human Protection Alliance. These were not conquered territories but willing partners who saw humanity as liberators rather than conquerors. The war crimes trials began on Earth, broadcast across the galaxy. The proceedings were fair but thorough. Evidence of genocide, slavery, and mass murder was presented in careful detail. High Arbiter Velthanis stood in the defendant's box, his crystal form shattered by the weight of his crimes. "We ruled for 3,000 years, he said in his defense. "We brought order to chaos." "You brought fear and oppression," replied Judge Prosecutor Lee Mi-jung. "You murdered children to maintain your power. That is not order, that is tyranny." The sentences were harsh but just. Death for those who ordered genocide. Life imprisonment for those who carried it out. Velthanis and the surviving council leaders would spend their remaining years in human prisons, contemplating the price of their arrogance. But the trials also revealed something important about humanity's character. Even toward their enemies, humans showed mercy where possible. Lesser criminals received reduced sentences in exchange for cooperation. Soldiers who had only followed orders were allowed to return home. "We are not monsters," President Soo-jin explained to a gathering of galactic ambassadors. "We fight when we must, but we prefer to build rather than destroy." The new galactic government was based on consent rather than conquest. The Human Defense Force protected member worlds but did not rule them. Trade was free and fair, with no tribute demanded from weaker species. Admiral Kang established patrol fleets throughout former council space. These ships were both protector and warning. Humanity would defend the innocent, but any return to the old ways would be met with overwhelming force. "We learned from your mistake," she told a group of former council admirals during their trial. "You thought strength gave you the right to oppress others. We know strength gives us the duty to protect others. The technological revelations continued to astound the galaxy. Human scientists shared medical advances that could cure diseases thought incurable. Human engineers helped rebuild worlds damaged by council exploitation. Human farmers improved crop yields on dozens of worlds. But the military technology remained strictly controlled. Humanity would not repeat the council's mistake of allowing potential enemies to grow too strong. Dr. Kim Hana, now director of the New Seoul Medical Center, worked with alien scientists to develop new treatments. The cooperation she had dreamed of during the colony's peaceful days was finally becoming reality. "This is what we could have had all along," she told her mixed staff of human and alien researchers. If they had chosen friendship instead of dominance, the economic transformation was equally dramatic. Without the Council's tribute system, trade flourished. Species that had been kept poor by forced payments now prospered. The Nephilim, stripped of their commercial monopolies, had to compete fairly for the first time in centuries. "Free trade benefits everyone," explained Commerce Secretary Park Jae-min during a galactic economic summit. "When all species can prosper, the galaxy becomes stronger." But humanity's greatest achievement was not military or economic. It was moral. The new galactic order was based on principles the Council had never understood: equality, justice, and the protection of the weak. 5 years after the war ended, President Nam Soo-jin stood before the Galactic Assembly on the anniversary of New Seoul's destruction. Representatives from 60 species listened as she delivered humanity's promise to the galaxy. "We did not seek to rule you," she said to the assembled delegates. "We sought only to live in peace. When that peace was shattered by those who mistook kindness for weakness, we responded with the full measure of our strength. Today, we offer you something the Council never did: a galaxy where small species need not fear large ones. Where trade is based on mutual benefit, not exploitation. Where disputes are settled through negotiation, not orbital bombardment." In the audience, Ambassador Fluxara of the reformed Nephilim delegation nodded in approval. Her species had learned to prosper through honest trade rather than monopolistic control. "This is the galaxy humanity will protect," President Soo-jin continued. "One where a farming colony can grow crops without fearing destruction. Where children can play without worrying about orbital bombardment. Where peace is not just the absence of war, but the presence of justice." The memorial service for New Seoul was held each year on every human world. But it was not just humans who participated. Vextar insects laid flower equivalents at memorial walls. Keth amphibians sang their haunting songs of remembrance. Dozens of species honored the memory of the humans who died for the sin of being underestimated. Commander Park Sun-ho stood before his father's memorial on the rebuilt New Seoul. Around him, the golden grain fields stretched to the horizon once again, but now orbital defense platforms gleamed in the sky above, and the most powerful fleet in the galaxy patrolled the system. "We kept our promise, Father," he said quietly. "We showed them what humanity really is." The galaxy had learned its lesson well. Humanity preferred peace but was prepared for war. They offered friendship, but would respond to aggression with overwhelming force. Most importantly, they had the strength to back up their ideals. In the former council chambers, now the seat of the Galactic Assembly, a simple plaque bore humanity's message to the galaxy: "We are humanity. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for war. We offered friendship and some responded with genocide. Never again will anyone mistake our restraint for weakness. This galaxy now operates under one simple rule: leave the innocent alone, or face the consequences of waking a sleeping giant." The Galactic Council had made one simple mistake. They confused human kindness with human weakness. They thought peaceful farmers could be bullied and murdered without consequence. That mistake cost them everything: their fleets, their empire, their freedom, and for many, their lives. The galaxy would never make that mistake again. In the peaceful fields of New Seoul, children played among the grain as their parents worked the land. Above them, the most powerful defense fleet in galactic history stood watch. The farmers were still farmers, but now everyone knew what lay beneath their peaceful nature. Humanity had finally shown the galaxy who they really were, and the galaxy would never forget. The Drakmor homeworld of Kethmaran had never seen an enemy fleet in its skies. For 2,000 years, the reptilian empire had been the hunters, not the hunted. Their massive red planet was protected by 800 warships and orbital defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets. War Master Grexnall stood in his command center, feeling satisfied with the previous day's work. The destruction of the human colony had been broadcast across the galaxy as planned. Several smaller species had already sent messages of submission to the Council. "Sir," reported his aide, "we're receiving strange readings from the outer system monitors." "What kind of readings?" Grexnall asked, not particularly concerned. "Gravitational distortions, like ships dropping out of hyperspace, but different somehow." Before Grexnall could respond, space itself seemed to tear open at the edge of the Kethmoran system. But these weren't the familiar blue swirls of hyperspace emergence. Space folded and twisted in ways that hurt to look at. 300 human ships materialized instantly where nothing had been seconds before. "Impossible," whispered Defense Coordinator Vex Thule. "No one can fold space like that." The human fleet was unlike anything the Drakmor had ever seen. The smallest ships were twice the size of their heavy cruisers. The largest vessel, leading the formation, was bigger than their orbital defense stations. Admiral Kang Hyunju stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Righteous Fury, looking at the Drakmor homeworld through the main viewer. She felt no satisfaction, only cold determination. "Open a channel to the planet," she ordered. The transmission reached every communication device on Kethmoran simultaneously. Admiral Kang's image appeared on millions of screens across the reptilian homeworld. "I am Admiral Kang Hyunju of the Terran Defense Force," she began, her voice calm and controlled. "Yesterday, your forces destroyed the human colony of New Sol. 50,000 innocent people died for your political games." War Master Grexnall watched from his command center, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. These ships, this technology, it was impossible. Humans were primitives. "You believed us to be weak farmers who would not fight back," Admiral Kang continued. "You were wrong. Today you learn what humanity does to those who murder our children." The human fleet opened fire. The weapons that struck Kethmoran's defenses were beyond anything in Drakmor experience. Focused gravity beams that crushed ships like tin cans, quantum missiles that ignored shields and armor, energy weapons that seemed to tear holes in space itself. The first wave of fire destroyed 200 Drakmor vessels in 30 seconds. The mighty orbital defense platforms, pride of the reptilian empire, were reduced to expanding clouds of superheated metal. "Return fire. All ships, return fire!" Grexnall screamed into his communicator. The Drakmor fleet fought back with everything they had. Their plasma cannons and missile batteries launched a desperate counterattack. For a moment, space around the human ships filled with explosions and energy beams. Then the smoke cleared. The human fleet hung in space, completely undamaged. Their defensive systems had absorbed the entire Drakmor assault without even flickering. Captain John Miran, commanding the destroyer New Sol's Vengeance, targeted the Drakmor flagship with her ship's main guns. "This is for Commander Jinwoo," she said quietly as she pressed the firing stud. The Drakmor command ship, largest and most powerful in their fleet, disappeared in a flash of artificial lightning. War Master Grexnall had just enough time to scream before his vessel was reduced to atoms. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than an hour. 800 Drakmor warships were destroyed. The orbital defense network was completely eliminated. Not a single human vessel was even scratched. "All Drakmor military forces have been neutralized," reported Tactical Officer Kim Do-yeon. "Very good," Admiral Kang replied. "Begin broadcasting to the planet." The transmission reached every surviving Drakmor on their homeworld. Admiral Kang's face appeared again, but now the background showed the burning wreckage of their mighty fleet. "Your military is destroyed," she announced. "Your defenses are gone. But we are not here to commit genocide as you did. We are here for justice." Across Kethmoran, reptilian citizens watched in terror as human ships took positions around their planet, but the expected orbital bombardment never came. "Your war criminals will be handed over for trial," Admiral Kang continued. "Your government will be dissolved. Your people will live, but under new management. This is more mercy than you showed the children of New Sol. The destruction of the Drakmor fleet was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, human forces were revealing themselves simultaneously. At the Sektai Crystal Worlds, Admiral Park Min-woo's fleet emerged from folded space to find the crystalline being's defenses completely unprepared. The SciFi had ruled galactic politics for millennia, through careful manipulation and superior technology. Now they faced weapons that made their crystal ships look like toys. High Arbiter Velthanis, Admiral Park announced over open channels. You ordered the destruction of New Sol. Today you face the consequences. The SciFi crystal fleet was beautiful but fragile. Human quantum weapons shattered their elegant ships like glass sculptures hit with hammers. In minutes, 3,000 years of SciFi naval tradition was reduced to floating crystals in light. The Nephilim trade worlds found their gas-filled habitats surrounded by human heavy cruisers. Trade Regent Fluxara tried to bargain, offering wealth and resources for mercy. Admiral Kim Tairi, commanding the siege fleet, was unmoved. Your species profited from genocide. Your trade routes are now closed. Your commercial empire is finished. The Nephilim trading fleets, backbone of galactic commerce, were systematically captured or destroyed. In hours, the economic foundation of the Council's power crumbled. On Nexus Prime, the Council capital, emergency sessions were called as reports flooded in from across their territory. Fleets that had seemed invincible were being destroyed by ships that shouldn't exist. How is this possible? Demanded Defense Minister Yextar of the Molari. Our intelligence said humans had no real military. Intelligence Master Korthvel was frantically reviewing his data. The reports were accurate based on what we could observe. These ships, this technology, they must have been hidden. Hidden how? Senator Plixon of the Avari shrieked. You can't hide fleets this large. But the humans had done exactly that. For 30 years they had maintained the perfect deception. Their visible colonies looked primitive while their real strength remained concealed. The attacks continued across 12 systems simultaneously. Human forces struck with precision and overwhelming power. Council fleets that had controlled space for centuries were swept aside like leaves in a storm. At the Molari defense stations, Admiral Lee Soo-young's battleships demonstrated weapons that could destroy entire moons. The slug-like Molari had built their strategy around massive defensive platforms. Now they watched those platforms dissolve under focused singularity beams. This is Admiral Lee Soo-young of the Terran Navy. She broadcast to the fleeing Molari survivors. Your participation in genocide has been noted. There will be trials. The Avari bird people tried to flee when human ships appeared in their system. Their fast scouts and messenger vessels were the quickest in known space. But human ships moved through folded space faster than thought itself. You cannot escape justice, Admiral Cho Hyun-soo informed them as her interceptors surrounded the fleeing Avari fleet. Your speed means nothing when we can be anywhere instantly. The news spread faster than the human advance. Species across the galaxy watched in shock as the mighty Council forces were systematically destroyed. The humans, dismissed as primitive farmers, were revealing technology that seemed like magic. On worlds that had been oppressed by the Council, celebrations began. The Vextar insects, who had traded peacefully with New Sol, cheered as they watched their oppressors burn. The amphibious Keith, who had been forced to pay tribute to the Council, danced in their swamps as human ships protected their worlds. But in the Council chambers there was only panic. The greatest military alliance in galactic history was collapsing in hours. We must negotiate, High Arbiter Velthanis declared, his crystal form flickering with fear. Offer them anything they want. What can we offer them? Asked Trade Regent Fluxara, her gas form churning with anxiety. They have technology we can't match. They have power we can't resist. On the bridge of the Righteous Fury, Admiral Kang received surrender offers from a dozen Council worlds. Her response was always the same. Unconditional surrender. War crimes trials. Complete disarmament. Those are our terms. You have 1 hour to comply. Most Council fleets chose to fight. Their pride would not let them surrender to primitive humans. Every battle ended the same way. Total human victory, complete enemy destruction. The galaxy was learning a terrible lesson. Humanity's greatest weapon was not their advanced technology or hidden fleets. It was the fact that they had been underestimated so completely. The Council had thought they were punishing defenseless farmers. Instead, they had awakened the most dangerous military force in galactic history, and humanity was just getting started. The quantum message from New Sol reached Earth in milliseconds. In the deep underground chambers beneath the Terran Defense Command, Admiral Kang Hyun-ju received Jin Woo's final transmission. Her face remained calm as she watched the colony burn, but her hands clenched into fists. Admiral, said her aide, Colonel Bei In-ho. "The quantum burst has been confirmed authentic. New Seoul is gone." Kang stood silently for a long moment watching the tactical display. 50,000 humans had just died. Peaceful farmers and their children, murdered to make a political point. "Activate Protocol Omega," she said quietly. Across Earth, hidden installations suddenly came to life. For 30 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment, the day when their peaceful facade would finally be dropped. President Nam Soo-jin arrived at the command center within minutes. As leader of Earth's government, she had known this day might come. But she had hoped it never would. "How bad is it?" she asked. "Complete destruction," Kang replied. "No survivors detected. The Galactic Council is broadcasting the attack as a warning to other human colonies." "Then it's time," Soo-jin said with cold determination. "Drop the masquerade. Show them who we really are." Deep in the Kuiper Belt, massive shipyards that had been hidden for decades began opening their docking bays. Ships that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen emerged from concealment. The true human defense fleet had been waiting 30 years for this moment. General Shin Young-mi materialized as a hologram in the command center. She commanded the secret intelligence networks that had been watching galactic politics since first contact. "The deception is complete," she reported. "The Council believes we're primitive farmers with basic technology. They have no idea what we've actually built." "What's our current strength?" President Soo-jin asked. 3,000 combat vessels ranging from destroyers to planet-killer dreadnoughts, Admiral Kang replied. "Every ship equipped with technology the Council cannot imagine. Our scientists have had 30 years to study alien tech while pretending to be backwards," added Dr. Seo Won-bin, the head of Advanced Weapons Research. "We've surpassed every galactic power by centuries." The holographic displays showed humanity's true military might. Ships that could fold space itself for instant travel. Weapons that could crack moons. Defensive systems that made vessels nearly indestructible. "How did we keep this secret for so long?" asked General Park Tae-jun, the newest member of the War Council. "Careful planning," General Shin replied. "We made first contact look accidental. Our colonies appeared to be simple farming settlements. Our trade ships seemed to use basic technology. Every alien who visited human space saw exactly what we wanted them to see. Meanwhile," Dr. Seo continued, "we were learning everything about their science, their politics, their military capabilities. They taught us their weaknesses while believing we were harmless." The strategy had been born from humanity's first encounter with galactic civilization. Early exploration ships had discovered that space was dominated by predatory empires who enslaved or destroyed weaker species. Humanity had faced a choice: announce their presence and risk immediate war, or pretend to be harmless while building overwhelming strength. "The masquerade served us well," Admiral Kang said. "But New Seoul changes everything. They killed our people, our children. The gloves come off now." Engineer Bae Yeon-sik activated the hidden manufacturing systems. Across the solar system, automated factories began producing weapons and ships at impossible speeds. Nanotechnology that the Council couldn't comprehend turned raw materials into instruments of war. "Production is at full capacity," he reported. "We can build 100 ships for every one we lose." President Soo-jin addressed the hidden colonies through secure quantum channels. "Citizens of the Terran colonies, today we reveal our true nature to the galaxy. For 30 years we have lived peacefully among the stars, but today, that peace was shattered by aliens who thought we were weak." The transmission reached every human settlement simultaneously. On New Tokyo, New London, New Sydney, and dozens of other worlds, colonists watched their leader speak. "We are not the simple farmers they believe us to be. We are not the primitive species they can bully. We are humanity. And today we remind the galaxy why that name should inspire respect, not contempt." In the shipyards around Jupiter, Admiral Lee Jong-soo prepared the first strike fleet. These were the ships that would show the galaxy humanity's true power. Each vessel was a masterpiece of technology that made Council ships look like toys. "All captains, report readiness," he commanded. "Dreadnought, Righteous Fury ready for combat," reported Captain John. Myran, Battleship New Seoul's Vengeance ready for combat, called Captain Ko Sung-min, Carrier. Earth's Wrath ready for combat, confirmed Captain Lim Hai-won. One by one, 300 warships reported combat ready. The most powerful fleet ever assembled was preparing to deliver humanity's response to genocide. "Admiral Kang," President Soo-jin said, What are your orders? We start with the Drakmor homeworld, Kang replied without hesitation. They fired the first shot. They destroyed New Sol, they die first. The war plan had been prepared for decades. Every major council world was targeted. Every military installation was marked for destruction. Every trade route would be cut. The galactic powers would learn what happened when they murdered human children. What about the species that traded peacefully with us? Asked Colonel Bay. The Vextar and the Keth were friends to our colonies. They will be protected, Sujin replied. This war is against the Council and their supporters. Species that showed us friendship will receive our protection. Dr. Seo activated the advanced AI systems that would coordinate the war effort. These artificial minds could process battle data faster than any organic brain, giving human forces an impossible advantage. Battle AI networks are online, he reported. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier will be coordinated in real time. The quantum communication networks lit up as orders went out across human space. Ships that had been disguised as cargo vessels revealed their true nature as destroyers and cruisers. Defense platforms that looked like space stations unfolded into fortress-sized weapons. The Council thinks they destroyed a defenseless farming colony, General Shin said with grim satisfaction. They have no idea they just declared war on the most advanced military in the galaxy. Admiral Kang looked at the tactical display showing human forces across known space. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, weapons that could reshape planets, all hidden beneath a mask of peaceful farmers and traders. Gentlemen, ladies, she said to the War Council, for 30 years we have watched and waited. We have endured insults and condescension from aliens who thought we were beneath them. Today that ends. The first strike fleet began moving toward the edge of the solar system. These ships would be the galaxy's first glimpse of humanity's true nature. Fast, deadly, and merciless. Remember, President Sujin said to the assembled commanders, we are not conquerors. We are not seeking to build an empire. We are seeking justice for our murdered people and security for our future. But if they want a war, Admiral Kang added, we'll give them one they'll never forget. The hidden manufacturing systems reached full production. Every minute new ships rolled out of concealed shipyards. Every hour entire fleets were added to humanity's forces. How long until the first strike? Asked President Sujin. The Drakmor homeworld will be under attack in 18 hours, Admiral Kang replied. By then our forces will be moving against 12 other targets simultaneously. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest deception was not their hidden technology or secret fleets. It was letting their enemies believe that humans were too civilized to fight with absolute ruthlessness. The Galactic Council had made a simple mistake. They had confused human kindness with human weakness. They thought peaceful farmers could be bullied and murdered without consequence. Soon, they would learn the difference between a sleeping giant and a defenseless victim. The countdown to humanity's revelation had begun. The morning started like any other on New Sol. Park Jin-woo was reviewing crop reports when the long-range sensors detected something unusual. 12 large objects had appeared at the edge of the solar system. Commander, called sensor operator Park Soo-jin from her station, we have unknown contacts approaching from hyperspace. They're moving toward our planet. Jin-woo walked to the sensor station and looked at the display. The objects were clearly warships, bigger than any trade vessel that visited the colony. His stomach began to tighten with worry. Are they responding to communication attempts, he asked. No, sir, they're maintaining complete radio silence. Captain Yoon Sora arrived at the command center within minutes of the alert. She studied the sensor readings with growing concern. These ships were military vessels and they were not here for peaceful trade. How long until they reach orbit, she asked. 3 hours at current speed, Soo-jin replied. Jin-woo activated the colony-wide emergency system. Warning sirens began to sound across New Sol. Citizens looked up from their work in confusion and fear. They had never heard these alarms before. All residents report to emergency shelters. Jin-woo's voice echoed from loudspeakers throughout the colony. This is not a drill. Unknown vessels are approaching our world. In the agricultural districts, farmer Choi Min-ho helped evacuate families from the outer settlements. Children cried as parents grabbed emergency supplies and headed for the reinforced buildings in the city center. What's happening? Asked young Kim So-young as her family hurried toward shelter. I don't know, sweetheart, Min-ho replied, trying to stay calm. But we need to get somewhere safe. Dr. Kim Hana prepared the medical center for casualties. She had trained for emergencies, but always imagined treating accidents or natural disasters. The possibility of war had seemed impossible on peaceful New Seoul. Engineer Lee Dae-ho activated the colony's defensive systems. The plasma cannons powered up with a low humming sound. The shields came online, creating a faint shimmer in the atmosphere above the main city. "Defense grid is active," he reported to Jin-woo. "But Commander, these weapons weren't designed for ship-to-ship combat. They're meant to destroy asteroids." "It's what we have," Jin-woo replied grimly. "Make every shot count." The approaching fleet finally broke their silence when they reached orbit. War Commander Threxcole's face appeared on the main view screen. A massive reptilian head with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp teeth. "Attention, human colony." His voice was a threatening growl. "I am War Commander Threxcole of the Galactic Council Defense Force. You are in violation of galactic territorial laws." Jin-woo stepped forward to respond. "This is Commander Park Jin-woo of New Seoul Colony. We claim this world under the right of settlement. We have committed no crimes." Threxcole laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Your species lacks the authority to claim any world. The Galactic Council has decided to make an example of your defiance." "We are peaceful farmers," Jin-woo said desperately. "We have families here, children. We pose no threat to anyone." "You pose a threat to galactic order," Threxcole replied coldly. "You have 2 hours to evacuate this world. Any humans remaining after the deadline will be considered hostile combatants." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in shocked silence. 2 hours to abandon everything they had built. 2 hours to save 50,000 lives. "We can't evacuate everyone in 2 hours," Sora said quietly. "We don't have enough transport ships." Jin-woo knew she was right. The colony had only a few cargo vessels and the 2 patrol ships. Most of the population would have to stay behind. "Then we fight," he said simply. The next 2 hours passed in frantic preparation. Sora took her 2 patrol ships into orbit, knowing it was suicide but refusing to abandon the colonists. Dae-ho checked and rechecked the defense systems. Citizens who couldn't be evacuated crowded into the strongest shelters. As the deadline approached, Jin-woo made a final broadcast to the colony. "My friends, we face a terrible choice. We can surrender our home to bullies, or we can stand and fight for what we've built. I know what my choice is." Across the colony, the response was the same. Farmers picked up hunting rifles. Engineers prepared to use mining equipment as weapons. Teachers and doctors took positions in the medical centers and shelters. When the deadline passed, Threxcole's fleet opened fire. The first orbital bombardment turned the spaceport into a crater of melted metal. The administrative district disappeared in a flash of plasma fire. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to ash in seconds. Captain Sora led her 2 patrol ships in a desperate attack. The New Seoul Defense and Farmer's Pride were tiny compared to the Drakmor warships, but they fought with incredible courage. "All weapons, fire," Sora commanded as her ships dove toward the enemy fleet. Her plasma cannons struck one of the Drakmor vessels, causing minor damage. For a moment, it seemed like the humans might have a chance. Then the return fire came. The Farmer's Pride exploded instantly, taking all hands with her. The New Seoul defense lasted 30 more seconds before enemy missiles tore her apart. Sora's last words were a defiant battle cry that echoed across the emergency channels. On the ground, the plasma cannons fired desperately at the orbiting ships. A few shots reached their targets, but the enemy shields absorbed the impacts easily. The return fire was devastating. One by one, the defensive positions were destroyed. The cannons melted under focused bombardment. The shield generators overloaded and exploded. In the medical center, Dr. Hana treated wounded civilians streaming in from the burning districts. The building shook with each nearby explosion. Through the windows, she could see the agricultural areas burning. "Doctor, we need to evacuate," shouted Nurse Lee McYoung over the sound of explosions. "Not yet," Hana replied, bandaging a child's injured arm. "There are still people who need help." The bombardment continued for hours. The beautiful city of New Seoul burned. The golden grain fields were reduced to ash. The schools and hospitals where children had learned and grown were destroyed. Engineer Deho made a final stand at the power plant, trying to keep the emergency systems running. He used every tool he could find as a weapon, fighting Drakmor landing troops who came to finish the destruction. "For New Sol," he shouted as enemy plasma bolts cut him down. In the command bunker, Jinwoo watched his world die. The sensors showed fires burning across the entire planet. Thousands of his people were already dead. The rest would follow soon. With shaking hands, he activated the quantum communication array. The message would reach Earth instantly, but Earth was too far away to help. "This is Commander Park Jinwoo of New Sol Colony." He spoke into the transmitter as explosions rocked the bunker. "We are under attack by the Galactic Council. They came without warning. They demanded we abandon our homes." The bunker shook violently. Cracks appeared in the walls. "They think humans are weak. They think we're just farmers who won't fight back. They're wrong about one thing. We're not weak. We were just peaceful." The ceiling began to collapse. Jinwoo could hear enemy troops breaking into the bunker. "Tell Earth. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we died fighting. Tell them." His voice broke with emotion. "Tell them to show the galaxy what humans really are." The transmission ended as the bunker collapsed. Commander Park Jinwoo died with his colony, buried under the ruins of everything he had built. From orbit, War Commander Threxcole watched the fires burn. The human colony was completely destroyed. Not a single building remained standing. The lesson was clear. This was what happened to species that defied the Galactic Council. "Mission accomplished," he reported to his superiors. "The human settlement has been eliminated. Broadcasting warning to other human colonies now." The recording of New Sol's destruction was transmitted across human space. Other colonies watched in horror as their peaceful neighbors burned. The message was simple: submit to the Council or face the same fate. But the transmission was also picked up by other receivers. Secret ones. Hidden ones. On Earth, in deep space installations, in places the Galactic Council never suspected existed, humans watched their people die. And in those hidden places, something began to wake up. Something that had been sleeping for decades, waiting for the right moment. Something that would show the galaxy the true meaning of human wrath. The Galactic Council thought they had taught humanity a lesson. Instead, they had made the worst mistake in galactic history. The massive crystal towers of the Galactic Council rose into the purple sky of Nexus Prime. Inside the Great Chamber, representatives from 12 powerful alien species sat in their elevated seats. The air hummed with translation devices turning alien thoughts into words that all could understand. High Arbiter Velthanus stood at the center of the chamber. His crystal body reflected light in rainbow patterns as he moved. The Sekthai had ruled galactic politics for 3,000 years. They considered themselves the most advanced beings in known space. "The human problem grows worse," Velthanus announced in his musical voice. "These creatures spread across space without permission. They ignore our authority." Around the chamber, other council members shifted in their seats. War Master Grexnall of the Drakmor Reptilian Empire clicked his claws against his throne. His red eyes glowed with anger. "Humans are nothing but primitive farmers," Grexnall hissed. "Why do we even discuss these insects?" Trade Regent Fluxara floated in her gas-filled chamber. Her species, the Nephilim, controlled most galactic commerce. "Because these insects compete with our trade routes. Their agricultural products sell for high prices." Intelligence Master Korthvel activated a holographic display. Images of human colonies appeared in the air above the chamber. New Seoul, New Tokyo, New London. Dozens of worlds where humans had built cities and farms. "Our scouts report 47 human settlements," Korthvel said with his mechanical voice. "They expand faster than we predicted. But their technology remains primitive." The hologram zoomed in on New Seoul. It showed farmers working in fields, children playing in parks, and simple buildings that looked nothing like military installations. "Look at this," Korthvel continued. 50,000 humans on a farming world. Their strongest weapons are plasma cannons designed to destroy asteroids. They have no battle fleet, no orbital defenses, no military installations. Several council members laughed at the images. Defense Minister Yextar of the slug-like Malari race shook his massive head. "These humans think they can ignore galactic law? They settle where they please without asking permission? They must be taught their place, agreed Senator Plixna of the bird-like Avari. The smaller species watch our response. If we allow humans to ignore our authority, others will follow. Velthanis raised his crystal hand for silence. The question is not whether to act, but how. These humans come from a single world called Earth. If we destroy their homeworld, the problem ends. Too extreme, Fluxara objected. Total genocide creates bad publicity. Other species might unite against us. War Master Grexnell stood up, his massive reptilian form casting shadows across the chamber. Then we make an example. Destroy one colony. Show all humans what happens when they ignore council authority. The chamber fell quiet as the council considered this option. Intelligence Master Korthvel brought up detailed scans of human colonies. Which target do you recommend? Velthanis asked. New Sol appears ideal, Korthvel replied. It has no strategic value. Just farms and civilians. The humans have no significant military presence there. Our fleet could destroy it easily. The hologram showed New Sol's defenses, a few old cannons and 2 small patrol ships. The council members looked at the pathetic display with amusement. This is what humans call defense? Laughed Senator Plixna. My personal guard has stronger weapons. Perfect, Grexnall said with satisfaction. I will send a small task force. 12 ships should be more than enough for such a target. Make sure the destruction is complete, Velthanis ordered. This message must be clear. Humans who ignore council authority will die. Defense Minister Yextar activated his communicator. What about the other human colonies? Should we warn them? Of course, Velthanis replied. Let them watch New Sol burn, then broadcast our terms. Submit to council authority or face the same fate. The council spent the next hour planning the attack. They chose War Commander Threxkull to lead the mission. He was young for a Drakmor but eager to prove himself. Destroying a defenseless human colony would be easy glory for his career. Remember, Grexnall told Threxkull over the secure channel, this is a demonstration, not a real battle. The humans have no military capability. Show them what happens when primitives challenge advanced civilizations. Intelligence reports confirmed human weakness. Their ships were slow and poorly armed. Their colonies had no shields or orbital weapons. Earth itself seemed to have only a small defense fleet protecting the homeworld. Humans are farmers and traders, the intelligence summary concluded. They show no signs of advanced military technology. They pose no threat to council forces. The council members left the chamber feeling satisfied. The human problem would soon be solved. One destroyed colony would teach these primitive creatures to respect galactic law. High Arbiter Velthanis returned to his crystal palace feeling pleased with the day's work. The Sekthai had maintained galactic order for millennia by showing strength when challenged. These humans would learn the same lesson as dozens of other species before them. As he meditated in his crystal garden, Velthanis thought about the galactic balance of power. The council worked because every species knew their place. The strong ruled, the weak obeyed. Humans would soon understand this simple truth. War Master Grexnall prepared his fleet with casual efficiency. 12 ships seemed like overkill for such a weak target, but he wanted to be thorough. The attack would be broadcast across human space as a warning. How long until the fleet reaches New Sol? He asked his aide. 4 days, War Master. Shall we prepare invasion troops? Grexnall laughed. Against farmers? The orbital bombardment will be sufficient. Leave no buildings standing. None of the council members suspected they had made a terrible mistake. Their intelligence was wrong. Their assumptions were false. And their casual decision to commit genocide would wake something in the galaxy that they were not prepared to face. The council chamber slowly emptied as representatives returned to their homeworlds. They carried news of humanity's coming punishment. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations prepared to watch the destruction of New Sol. But deep in space, other eyes were watching too. Eyes that belonged to beings who knew humanity's true nature, who understood that the Council had just made the worst decision in galactic history. The countdown to catastrophe had begun. The morning sun rose over New Sol Colony, painting the endless fields of golden grain in warm light. Commander Park Jin-woo stood on his office balcony, watching the farmers begin their daily work. 15 years had passed since the first settlers arrived on this empty planet. Now 50,000 people called this world home. Jin-woo smiled as he watched the harvest machines move through the fields. The colonists had turned this dead rock into a garden. Where once there was only dust and stone, now green fields stretched to the horizon. The air smelled of fresh bread from the bakeries and blooming flowers from the community gardens. Dr. Kim Hana walked up the stairs to join him on the balcony. She carried a cup of coffee and looked tired from working all night in her lab. "Another successful crop yield?" she asked, sipping her coffee. "Better than ever," Jinwoo replied. "The new soil treatment worked perfectly. We'll have enough grain to feed ourselves and trade with our alien friends." Hana nodded. The colony had built good relationships with several alien species. The insect-like Vextar loved human wheat, and the frog-like Keth traded their advanced medical supplies for human vegetables. These peaceful trades had made New Seoul prosperous and safe. Down in the engineering section, Lee Dae-ho checked the colony's defense systems. The shields were working perfectly, designed to protect against space rocks and solar storms. A few plasma cannons sat on the hills around the main city, but they were old and simple. No one expected to need them for real fighting. "Everything looks good," Dae-ho told his assistant. "The new power core is running at full capacity. The defense grid was basic but reliable. It could handle small threats, but Jinwoo had never worried about big ones. New Seoul was far from the major trade routes and political centers. Who would want to attack a farming colony? In the agricultural center, Farmer Choi Min-ho supervised the loading of grain shipments. Workers laughed and joked as they filled the cargo containers. Children played between the stacks of wheat sacks, their parents working nearby. "Careful with those containers," Min-ho called out. "The Vextar are very particular about their grain quality." The alien traders would arrive next week for their regular pickup. The Vextar had been trading with New Seoul for 8 years now. They were strange-looking with their 6 legs and crystal eyes, but they were honest and paid well. Captain Yoon So-ra landed her patrol ship at the spaceport. Her small defense force consisted of just 2 ships and 30 soldiers. Their job was mostly to help with emergencies and escort the trade ships. Real military threats seemed impossible in this quiet corner of space. "How was the patrol?" asked Lieutenant Nam Jun-ki as So-ra climbed out of her ship. "Peaceful as always," she replied. "Just empty space and a few asteroids. Nothing to worry about." So-ra had been a real military pilot once, fighting in the border conflicts near Earth, but those days were over. New Seoul was a place of peace where former soldiers could become farmers and engineers. The colony was proof that humans could build something beautiful without violence. That evening, the community gathered in the central plaza for their weekly celebration. Musicians played while families shared food and stories. The children ran around playing games while their parents relaxed after a long day of work. Jinwoo stood up to address the crowd. "Friends, we have much to celebrate. Our harvests are the best ever. Our trade agreements are strong. Our children are healthy and happy. We've built something wonderful here." The crowd cheered and applauded. Hana raised her glass of local fruit wine. "To New Seoul, the Garden of Space." As the celebration continued, no one noticed the small sensor probe that passed through the outer solar system. It scanned the planet for 30 seconds, recorded the colony's population and defenses, then jumped away to hyperspace. The probe's data showed exactly what its creators expected: a small human settlement with primitive weapons and no military significance. Later that night, Jinwoo walked through the quiet streets of New Seoul. The houses were dark, their residents sleeping peacefully. Streetlights illuminated the small shops and cafes that made the colony feel like home. Everything was calm and safe. Jinwoo stopped at the memorial wall near the colony center. Names were carved into the stone, colonists who had died from accidents or old age over the years. The list was short. Life on New Seoul was good and safe. People lived long, happy lives here. "Sleep well, old friends," he whispered to the memorial. He continued his walk, passing the school where tomorrow the children would learn about agriculture and basic sciences, past the medical center where Hana treated everything from broken bones to space flu, past the engineering shops where Dae-ho built the machines that kept their world running. The colony's quantum communication array sat on a hill outside town. It looked like a simple radio tower, but it could send messages instantly across the galaxy. Jinwoo checked the system daily, though it rarely carried important news. Earth was far away and New Seoul was independent. Back at his home, Jinwoo looked at photos on his desk. Pictures of the first colonists breaking ground, the first successful harvest, the first alien trade agreement, 15 years of steady progress and peaceful growth. His wife Ji Young was already asleep. She worked as a teacher, filling young minds with knowledge and hope for the future. Their own children were grown now, with families of their own scattered across the colony. This was what life should be, simple, productive, and peaceful. Jinwoo stood at his window looking out at the starry sky. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations fought wars and built empires. But here on New Seoul, humans had found something better. They had found peace. The stars twinkled in the darkness, beautiful and distant. Jinwoo never imagined that in those stars powerful beings were making plans that would soon shatter the peaceful life of New Seoul forever. He went to bed that night thinking about tomorrow's harvest schedule. He dreamed of golden wheat fields and laughing children. He had no idea that hundreds of light years away, warships were already moving toward his quiet world. The last night of peace on New Seoul passed quietly. Soon everything would change.